Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
Welcome everybody to the Bronx Sports Jedi with a network with your weekly MMA breakdowns with me, Austin, and Chef Dan. How you doing tonight, Chef Dan?
Salute to you, Austin. Salute to the chat. Salute to everyone in the world watching, joining us everywhere you are. It was an excellent weekend of fights, and I feel like we got more to come, man. There was a lot of it was great fights leading into this one, and sometimes you don't even question the placement on the card. Really, don't question where guys are placed because it works out for the best. Dana White knows what he's doing. That's all I'll say leading into tonight's show.
Gotcha. And before we kick off, I just want to say you can listen to us on podcast platforms: Anchor FM, Spotify, Podbean, Reason FM, Buzzsprout.com. So if you want to listen to us while working or driving, you can listen to us there as well. And with that being said, a lot happened last weekend. You know, there was a big UFC fan, Madison Square Garden, but also there was a premier boxing with Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant. And unfortunately, I was so focused on the UFC that I didn't really pay attention to Canelo and Caleb Plant. But I know Canelo Alvarez got a TKO victory in I believe the 11th round, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was in the 11th round in impressive fashion. I didn't get to watch the fight myself, but I did get to see the KO, and it looked like Canelo was in complete control when he got it. It wasn't where they were exchanging. It seemed like Canelo was controlling the fight through and through based on the way the knockout played itself, and so he chose his spots and got to it.
Right, and speaking of that fight, my dad will be doing this quick short video probably tomorrow about that fight, so he'll probably break it down as well. So do want to mention that, and congratulations to Canelo Alvarez for making history. He becomes the first undisputed super middleweight champion in boxing, if I'm mistaken. I believe he's the first one ever.
I believe so. He's currently making history, and he has a lot more to go. So we'll continue to watch Canelo.
Definitely, and yeah, definitely, he's making clean. Well, he's on a journey to become arguably the greatest Mexican boxer ever. We should see if he continues on that path. But yeah, as we mentioned, in Madison Square Garden on that same day, there was a major UFC event going on, UFC 268, with the rematch between Colby Covington and Camaro Hoosterman. Now, this entire card was pretty good, to say everything. I watched from like the early, from like the second to last early prelim fight all the way to the whole card. It was an excellent card. I mean, a lot of breakout performances. a lot of great back to forth fights and everything like that. And should we start with the main event, or you want to start go the way up?
We can start from the first fight all the way up.
Okay, first fight of the prelims, correct?
No, first fight of the main card.
Okay. Whew. Oh my gosh, you mentioned that Justin Gaethje and Michael freaking Chandler, little 15-minute war in Madison Square Garden. I mean, this fight, man. Gaethje wins this fight 28-28 and two judges scorecards and 30-27 on one. And man, this fight had both guys are warriors. Their chins were tested, the heart were tested, everything was tested. These guys rocked each other. Guys were bleeding. Chandler in the third round got a takedown with Justin Gaethje, this crazy reversal and got top position. I mean, this fight, there were leg kicks involved. Chandler do early, but Gaethje does his pan leg kicks. I mean, this was fight of the year in my opinion, and UFC. I know that we still got some fights left. Maybe someone can take it, but as of right now, as we're recording this video, as this video is live, I think this was fight of the year, just me personally. But this fight was excellent. I mean, what a phenomenal fight from Gaethje and Chandler, which you kind of knew when this fight was made. You just knew this fight this was going to deliver because it's Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler, two of the most exciting guys in all of MMA. Forget just UFC or lightweight division, all of MMA, and they delivered. And the crazy thing was Eddie Alvarez was in the crowd supporting his friend Frankie Edgar, who fought later on. And Eddie Alvarez is a rival of Chandler and Justin Gaethje, and Eddie Gaethje also had a great fight when they fought as well. So I thought that was kind of cool. But man, I mean, what a spectacular fight! I mean, wow. And the crowd was, if the crowd was really into this fight, they should be because it was excellent. I mean, what are your thoughts on this fight, Dan?
Um, just giving a precursor, like there were so many. Give me one moment. I gotta check to see. The first three fights of the preliminaries were decisions. After that, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 fights after preceding the Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje fight. It was 6 fights that had KOs in them, so the crowd was pretty much warmed up. And watch, like before the fight came on, looking at the card, you saw this as one of the first fights of the card, and you go, why was this the first fight of the card? If anything, this should have been this should have been like maybe right under the Rose versus Weili fight. But Dana White knew exactly what he was doing because it kind of just stepped up the competition for every fight afterwards. You had to bring it. And you knew the other fighter was going to bring it based on this fight alone. This was fight of the night, possibly fight of the year. I like right now in the moment, because even like to this day, the event happened Saturday. We're recapping it Thursday, and I'm still like in awe of what happened in those 15 minutes. It's like it's mind numbing, it's crazy, it's shocking. You have to see it. You have to see it. Justin Gaethje at the end of the fight, he gave the perfect quote. This fight was not supposed to happen in this era. This was supposed to happen in a coliseum where one of these guys was supposed to die, because that's how they approached it. I was watching the first round with my girlfriend, and my girlfriend like noted by the 2 minute and 30-second mark, she asked, will they have anything left for the second and third round? And I looked at her and said, it's Gaethje versus Chandler. They're going to have this and more for the second and third round. And they delivered on that promise completely. Oh my gosh. This wasn't about technique at all, ladies and gentlemen. This was a pure blood sport. This is pure blood sport. It I just like if you could like find a way to get your eyes onto this matchup, because you can watch technique and things of that nature is beautiful. We had fights like those on this card where there was beautiful technique being shown. Like we had those things. But if you want violence, just pure violence, unadulterated violence, this is what this fight was. Like if you wanted two guys who like particularly didn't care for defense and just wanted to hurt the other guy, ladies and gentlemen, I, you were introduced to what this was. Oh man, just beautiful. Fight of the year contender, absolutely. I would have to remember. We would have to, later on down the year, we're gonna do a video where we're gonna have to remember other fights that are possibly contenders for fight of the year and put them up against this. But so far, man, blowing this out the water. There's still some time left. There's still a couple of events happening. We still have another event coming out this weekend that is going to be very interesting, but I couldn't describe the fight any more than just a pure blood sport and violence and two people trying to hurt each other physically. That's it. With their fists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you put it perfectly. It was unadulterated violence. That's what this fight was. A violent fight. Just violence and guys using their fists and their kicks to hurt each other. I mean, this fight exceeded the hype. It's one of those few times where a fight exceeds the hype, and this did it. This was awesome. This was a great fight. They both got their bonuses, rightfully so, and it was just. I mean, imagine being that was your first UFC pay per view you saw, and you saw that. I mean, that
If
hooked you in.
yeah, if that was your first fight, and I mean, I just because I don't want to take away from Justin Gaethje, I don't want to say there was no technique involved in this fight because there was, in the sense of Michael Chandler tried, but Justin Gaethje was just better with the leg kicks, and it wasn't really just where to place the leg kicks; it was more so the timing. He knew the timing and the just right amount of volume because he was used to the leg kicks, and so that slowed down Michael Chandler throughout the rounds, and that was able to secure Justin Gaethje the victory throughout the second and third round. But all in all, it slowed down Michael's speed and movement a little bit, but it didn't slow down his volume. He was still throwing and trying to put Justin Gaethje down. Gaethje did put Chandler down in the first round, but Chandler got back up and got right back to it. But Chandler was really the first one to bloody Gaethje, I believe. And he was landing a lot of clean shots early on in the first round.
Yeah, I thought personally Chandler won that first round because of he had early on he had more shots. He rocked Gaethje first. Gaethje was rocked several times in that first round, even towards the end. But yeah, but in the end, Gaethje I thought won the fight despite him losing the first round, and they both hurt each other. I mean, both. Yeah, I mean, like I said, their heart, their toughness, their chin, their toughness, all that was on display Saturday night, and it was awesome. And if you love violence and combat sports, you can appreciate this fight because I did, and everyone watching it, I'm pretty sure did. I know you did, Dan.
I
This was
most definitely enjoyed this fight and appreciated this fight. And this fight, like, if anything, I think sometime down in the future, we may see this fight go in the Hall of Fame.
it should be. It should
It,
go on.
I mean, right now we're just, right now right now we just have to, soak in what it was for that night. It's kind of like, I don't know how else to say it, man. It's kind of like going to an epic party and then you go, that was the greatest party I've ever been to. And you went with a whole bunch of friends and one of your friends tell you like, wait, slow down, calm down. We just, let the night soak over. But after, we're going to talk about this in the morning and we'll, defer and see, how this stacks up to other nights. But so far, this fight is looking like a contender to go into the Hall of Fame. And so with that being said, I want to go right into the next fight, Shane Burgos versus Billy Quarantillo, because this fight, it was I want to like just breaking down this fight. Both fighters did amazing, and you can tell the effect that the Chandler versus Gagey fight had on this fight, because both fighters came in just, you can tell like they both really. I don't know. I, oh man, I don't want to take away from the preparation and the fight camp that the fighters have coming into coming into fight night, but these fighters did have the ability, watching the fight preceding them. If it's a great fight, you kind of want to come in there and try and blow that fight out of the water, and so both fighters came in wanting to do their best. Oh, Austin, I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Okay, I was trying. I mute myself there, but what I was saying is, you're right. Both guys came prepared. This fight was actually not a bad fight. It was a really entertaining back and forth fight. And I think Rogan and Corey mentioned how the Gaethje and Chandler fight kind of like took some of the air out of the crowd during this fight because
I don't think it like, yeah, all right. I can agree that it took the air out of the crowd, but it did something else for the crowd, and it was something I wanted to mention as well. Uh, Aside from the performance that both fighters put on, that Gaethje and Chandler fight, I think it took so much of like all that hyperactive energy that a UFC crowd has, because you sometimes need a bloodbath to kind of satiate that thirst that the crowd has. They're kind of like, I don't know. Watching the crowd, they're kind of wild animals watching the fights, because they would not watch a technique filled grappling matchup. They'd rather watch two guys go right there in the octagon, stand in the middle of the octagon, slug it out, and have no defense, right? Things of that nature. But what it also did for them was it calmed them down. So now they really got to watch Shane Burgos versus Billy Quarantillo, and you saw like the struggles that Shane Burgos had in the beginning because of the activity that Billy Quarantillo was providing in the first round. And it was a lot, and even midway, from the start into the midway of the second round, he was still providing that energy. He was still providing that activity. But as Shane Burgos started to figure out the rhythm, and as Billy Quarantillo started to slow down and started to repeat certain combinations, Shane Burgos started to break him down. You saw it, like, I think it was evident really in the body shots that he was providing. And it came to a point where I think he did a disservice to himself in the third round, where he went away from the body shots late in the third round to kind of go for head hunting to get the finish. But I felt like if he was more consistent with the body shots, mix it in with the head shots, like, you had a good thing going with the high and low. You keep it going, it gets you. If it got you to him weakening, it can get you to the KO. You don't have to headhunt. What were your thoughts on that fight?
no, you're right because that Burgos early on struggled. It looked like Quarantilo was more active, and because he was more active, Burgos, laying some good shots, but Quarantilo kept coming back. But then the second round, he made the adjustment, and then that's when you had Burgos laying more body shots, and then which slowed down Quarantilo, and then and he was more active, Burgos. And then the third round he did similar until the end of the third round. Then he went headhunting, which was mistake. So mistake. All he wanted to fight in the round, but still should have kept going with the body shot because maybe if he kept going high low, he may have landed a good shot on the chin and maybe he could have done some damage. But that wasn't the case. But well, either way, he did. He won the fight. He did hurt Rock Quarantine a little bit. I believe in the third round, if I'm mistaken. And this was a big victory for Shane Burgos because I mentioned it last week that Shane Burgos was the first New York City born fighter on the main card of Madison Square Garden pay per view, and he's from the Bronx, and yet yeah, and kind of was upset I didn't mention the fact he's from the Bronx. I wish they should have because the crowd could have really got into that fight, being a local New Yorker fight on this card. They mentioned he's from Monroe, which is in like upstate. I forget what part of upstate. I think but um, anyway, Burgos was able to get the victory. Big victory, his hometown. You know, he was coming off the loss to Edson Barboza, so nice bounce back victory for him. He's in top. He's still in its ranks. He's still top 15 of a pretty good featherweight division, which has a lot of great fighters on this on the division. Excuse me. And like I said, great victory, and I like watching Shane Burgos, and I can't wait to see him fight again.
Most definitely. So with that being said, let's move on to the next fight. It was Marlon Cheeto Vera versus Frankie Edgar, and oof, this fight ended viciously. I'm Austin, take it away.
Frankie Edgar was doing very well in this fight. The first 2 rounds, he was able to mix his striking with grappling, and once he took him down, he basically controlled the fight. It's what we said last week that Frankie Edgar could take down Gio Vera, keep it down. He probably was going to win the fight, and he was on his way to win the fight. He took him down, had good ground control. Was able to keep Vera down, go for some ground and pound. But Gio Vera was able, I believe, get up eventually in the third round, if I'm mistaken, and she'll land some strikes, and then there's the front kick, the Anderson Silva-esque front kick landed on Frankie Edgar that basically put him out, and then basically it was over from there, which it's which is just sad because Frankie Edgar is one of my all-time favorite fighters, and he was really like Frankie was on his way to win the fight, and a couple minutes away from winning, but she had that front kick, and it was just and he was done. It was very sad because especially a Frankie Edgar fan because he looked like he was so close to winning, like this close, and then it was just taken away from you.
I
It's
mean,
like,
I want to ask you a question though. Do you really think he was that close to winning?
well, I thought Frankie Edgar was doing a good job, in terms of his grappling, taking him down and keeping him down. I thought maybe he was, I thought from what I remember, it seemed like Frankie was winning the fight, unless my memory is misjudged.
Uh, oh man, see, I have a different perspective of the fight. The way I think is, it Frankie was man, I want to agree but disagree on certain contexts.
Okay.
All right, Cheeto was active during the fight. He was finding his spots. He just wasn't finding them the way Frankie was. And also when they did get into scrambling situations, it seemed like just Frankie got the better of him here and there. Cheeto did get the better of him at some points and was able to take control, but Frankie was able to do more when he got his advantages in the scrambles. Um, in the stand-up game, though, it seemed like Frankie was going for points.
I see. Touch and go, basically.
Exactly. And if you're doing touch and go, especially from the beginning of the fight, if you're doing touch and go, it tells me a couple of things. Number one, it tells me you have no confidence in your power. Number two, you're telling me that you need this fight to go the full 15 minutes. A lot can happen in 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, I can.
And so, like as much as I want to, and I did say last week it felt like Frankie had a chance, but like watching the fight, I was dead wrong on that one. Cheeto just he picked and chose, and when he got his moment, he got the front kick in, and it was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, it was. It was an impressive knockout. Impressive knockout for Gio Vera because Like I said, you don't see any front kick knockouts. I mentioned Anderson Silva because that's the first guy we all think of with front kick knockouts. We did a Vitor Belfort 10 years ago, but yeah, definitely was an impressive knockout. He got a bonus also for that knockout, as he deserved. And but as a Frankie fan, it was sad to see, especially him getting knocked out like that. Considering Frankie Edgar had one of the best chins in all of MMA historically. He had one of the best chins ever, and seeing get knocked out like that after the Shenanigan knee from February earlier in the year, it's just like oof. And then also I did mention that Frankie does have a lot of ring time. He's at 7 hours at least of octagon time in the UFC. So I mentioned he might have more wear and tear than Vera. So maybe that might come back and bite him, which it looks like it did.
It looks like it's starting to in his later ages, as far as like it isn't just the ring time, it's a combination of the amount of ring time, the amount of damage taken, certain knockouts that he's taken, especially like now in back to back within a calendar year. It's kind of, like, I think maybe it's time.
I was saying that too because I think Frankie Edgar just turned 40 like a couple weeks ago. I think so. Let me check.
And if your power isn't aging gracefully to a point where, you can stay in the game, I don't think, I don't think it makes sense.
Yes, he did turn 40 in last month, October 16th. So yeah, he's 4 years old now. In a lighter weight class, which you all know historically, lighter weight classes don't age well. You're older fighter in a lighter weight class versus heavier like heavyweight, light heavyweight, etc. But yeah, but
I mean, if he still has the drive, I would want him to move up in weight class. That's the only thing.
I would too. I know people say he should have been bantamweight his whole career, but he did well. I mean, not welterweight, lightweight. Was the champion over there. And featherweight, he was pretty good. He fought for the title twice at featherweight, and was always a contender. Always a top five guy over there. I mean, I know he's got some victories in bantamweight, but still, I think if he is going to continue to fight, I think featherweight might be a better option for him at this stage than bantamweight. I think you're right about that, Dan.
Most definitely. So, with that being said, I mean, I think this is a cap off of this fight right there. We can move on right into the co-main event for the UFC Women's Strawweight Championship. In the red, in the blue, the challenger, Zhang Weili, and in the red, the champion, Thug Rose Namajunas. And this fight ended in a split decision. This was a controversial fight. I I mean, Austin, you want me to break down the controversy first, or do you want to
Yeah,
tell me your break? All right. This was a controversial fight because what people are saying is what they can give Rose the fourth and the fifth round,
hmm
but the first three rounds we don't know if Zhang Weili won those or not.
right.
Like, people are saying they're giving Zhang Weili the first and the second. Maybe what? No, maybe the first and the third. Maybe the second is up for debate.
I think the second one's up to debate. I think to me, because if I'm not mistaken, the second one was the one I was like kind of like iffy. Because if I remember correctly, I believe Wei Li won round one obviously, and even round three.
Yeah, but I believe the wait, was it the second where Rose with no Zhang Wei Li went for the takedown and Rose flipped it?
I think that was the second round. I think that was it. I believe so.
Okay, all right. So what the consensus is that the second round that's up for debate is that if you even if you like, some people feel like even if you add in the fact that Rose flipped the takedown and was able to get some advantages this and things of that nature, that they feel like Zhang Weili won that round, and so it's 3 rounds to 2, and Weili should have won the title back.
Right, and yeah, definitely, it was very close. This fight, like I said, 4 and 5 were definitely Rose's round, especially the fifth round, and also the first round was definitely Weili's round, and the third round from what I remember, but the second round is a close one. I'm looking at it seems like I'm looking at judges' scorecards, on a website and made decisions, and it seems like 2 to 3 judges gave the second round to Rose, and that one judge that had it split, had it for Weili, gave the second round to Weili. One judge gave Rose 4-1, which is silly, but that's something I do want to bring up later on. But yeah,
Oh no, bring it up right now then.
no,
We're discussing the fight right now.
no. It has to do with this fight and a couple other fights on this card. That's why I was mentioning it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but no, but yeah, I don't think Rose won 4 rounds to 1. That's ridiculous. But yeah, I personally thought Rose won the fight. Me personally, I thought Rose won the second round. I thought it was round 2, 4, and 5. Rose won 1-3. Weili won. I think Rose was able to. I think Rose was able to take round 2, and then also was able to adjust and able to win rounds 4 and 5. Especially considering she's able to take down Weili and grappling. Considering Weili was working on grappling with Henry Cejudo in this camp for his fights, and it was very technical. It was very technical, I think, to say the least. This fight, it wasn't action packed. It wasn't like the obviously Gaethje Chandler or Quarantilo and Burgos, or even the main event with Covington and Usman. But it was very strategic, very smartly fought fight from both fighters, particularly especially Rose. And Rose Namajunas once again wins a championship rematch in New York. If you remember, she beat Joanna in Brooklyn, Barclays Center, in their rematch, which was full a decision, just like this fight was. But yeah, I thought Rose won. Just me personally, when I'm watching it, I mean, I haven't gone back and watched. Maybe I can watch. I may have a different opinion, but at the time, but based on what I saw, I thought Rose did enough to get the decision. That's just me.
Okay. Uh, for me personally, I agree with you there. I felt like Rose did enough to get the decision. Um, oh man. Here's the thing. When you say that the judge was silly for giving Rose 4 rounds to 1, is it silly because Rose started coming along during the third round as well? I think, if anything, the third round is more up for debate than the second round.
Really, okay. But do you think Rose did enough? But I don't think. I don't think she won 4 rounds to 1 though. That's just me. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, but if the judge felt like she did enough during that third round to edge out that round, it's a possibility that she could have won 4 rounds. There is a possibility.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just asking you the question. Like, I think there's a possibility there. Um,
To me, I thought it was I thought to me it was pretty obvious that Rose won not three, excuse me, 2, 2, 4, and 5 for me. I thought it was kind of like, okay, this is clearly Rose's round, and this is I'll give away lead rounds 1 and 3 for me.
um, okay. The fight was very technical, very strategic. If anything, I could say that, like, I know you felt like maybe there was another fight on the card that was more strategic than this. I think this was the most technical and most strategic fight of the card,
No, I agree with
because
I agree with that.
because I think both fighters showed an amount of technique and strategy on, like, stand up, clinch, and the ground game. So we saw all three phases where both fighters went, for submissions, and they showed defenses, and then they were able to gamble on a certain defense, but they got what they were looking for, things of that nature. Like, there was even a moment where we all felt like in the it may have been the third round where in order for Rose to get up, she had to give up her back to Zhang Weili in a grappling situation, and we all felt like maybe that was a mistake. Zhang Weili almost, I think, even got a rear naked choke in, but Rose was able to fight the hands, get out of it. It was even to a point where Rose powered. Smart thing. A lot of fighters, when they're fighting the rear naked choke from the back, when they're upright, a lot of fighters have a tendency to try and want to get out of it. No, what Rose did, which was very smart, and this is championship level fight, like this is top 5 ranked stuff that the fighters are doing, is they're spinning. They're trying to gather enough. They're fighting the hands, getting enough space, gathering enough power while they're fighting the hands, because they're not doing anything with their body. And as soon as they have enough energy, they spin. So now they're on top and they have leverage to reign over some punches. That's what she did. And I felt like maybe that could have given, the judge, the look at the round to say, okay, maybe that's why she won that round. But all in all, aside from that, Zhang Weili, I think, dominated that round so forth. Zhang Weili did not get the submission she was looking for, but she
No.
was the more powerful fighter. The thing is, man, she's so good. I don't know what's next for her.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is that well, the first fight she got knocked down in less than 2 minutes. Oh, this fight was a lot closer. It was competitive and a split draw, but we don't know where she is now. Knowing that Rose is the champion, she's in that Joanna and Jacek was a couple years ago after she lost to Rose, where it was like Joanna's in a tough spot, losing to Rose twice. Now, I
Exact.
mean, but
And then here's the other thing: is like, does she now like fight an up and coming contender?
yeah, that's the thing. What do you next? Because did she fight maybe a Marina Rodriguez potentially, or who's the other Chinese fighter? What's her name? Yan, I forget her name. Yan Xian, I forget how to pronounce her name. Yeah, because you're right. Because who will she fight next? Like she fight those girls I mentioned. Maybe Joanna the rematch. Maybe or she go up to 125 maybe because she's worried about going at 125. When she was champion to fight Valentina. But unless you count Rose to lose the next fight to Carl Esparza, I mean, I don't know if you want to do that.
See,
Oh,
like this is the
what?
thing. Like, I think like this is. I understand why Justin Gagey went radio silent, and I think I understand why he took as much time off as he did. When you're the number one contender and the clear cut number one contender, and you lose to the champion, but the number 2 and number 3 guys right now are fighting this things of that nature to try and get the next spot, and you're just kind of stuck right there. Like, you can't. The next fight would have to be a step down.
Right.
And so I think you have to take a strategic step down in order to take a step back up. And so I think we're not going to see Zhang Weili for a while.
Right. Although to be fair, Gaethje was mad that all Vera and Chandler got the title fight over him. He did want that title fight when it was done in May. But I get what you mean by that.
I understand that, but oh man. And even Khabib is getting involved in this. in saying he's telling Justin Gaethje to shut up and that Islam Makhachev is the rightful contender. But man, I love Khabib, but please don't get into this. You had your chance and you gave up the belt.
Right. Yeah, it's true. That's true. Although he did beat Gaethje.
I mean, he beat Gaethje, but now Gaethje, to be fair, man, I know Poirier and Oliveira's about to get it going, but I think Gaethje just made himself the number one contender.
I mean, I still lean a little towards it, despite the performance. I just think well, him and Chandler are coming off finishes and title fights. He won the fight in an epic way. I mean, legendary, epic. I mean, like I said, I'm to the point where I won't be too upset to give Gaethje the winner of Oliveira and Poirier. I won't be too upset, but I still think Islam deserves it. That's where I'm at.
I mean, this is my thing, right?
Right.
Let's say, this is my thing with it. You want to do the natural ranking of it? Let's do the natural ranking. Khabib was champion. Gaethje was 1. We didn't know who 2 and 3 was, right? It was a mix.
Was Tony
Tony, I
playing?
think Tony was 1. He lost 2, and then he lost to Oliveira.
December after the Gaethje and Khabib fight.
Yeah, so then he dropped to 4, and then he just recently lost to Dariush. So now Tony's 5. Oliveira and Chandler had a fight for the championship, right?
Yeah.
Chandler won. I mean, no. Oliveira won, Chandler lost, right?
Yeah.
So that makes Chandler champion. What does that make Michael Chandler?
Makes him one of the 5 best, top 5 lightweights.
No, in the natural ranking, where does that make him? If you lose to the champion, that makes you number 1 contender.
I guess, yeah, that's true. Although I don't necessarily always agree with that, because I think sometimes depends on who's also in the division, what they're doing as well. I get what you mean. I understand what you're talking about.
I mean, but the champion forfeited the title,
right?
And so a new ranking system had to be built.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? And
yeah.
With that being said, if you want to take some remnants off the old ranking system, as far as from 5 down, okay, but top 5 had to be rebuilt.
Right.
And so now you have Chandler 1, Poirier was 2, but Chandler just came off the matchup with Oliveira, so Poirier was next up in line right after. Who was after Poirier? It had to be Gaethje.
Right.
And then I'd put Beneil Dariush. I think Beneil Dariush still has a legitimate case to fight for a championship.
Yeah,
and I think if he calls out Islam Makhachev and they want to decide that's for the number 1 contendership, they can do that.
I wouldn't mind that. I think that'd be a good idea.
That'd be a great idea.
I would like that. Hey, if I'm Dariush, I'm doing the backup role just in case something happens within the next couple of weeks, God forbid. But
I understand that, but
I like that though.
Yeah, but this is my thing. So now, Gaethje just beat Chandler, who just fought for the championship.
Right. Although people were criticizing that, considering he had 1 fight. Although I agree with it at the time, I did agree with Chandler getting a title fight.
At the time, no other lightweight was more, impressive.
Right, yeah, definitely. I agree with you there. Some people had criticism at the time of Chandler getting a title fight.
I didn't this is my thing. I know we want to congratulate Islam Makhachev off of the Dan Hooker fight, but Dan Hooker just impressed us off of the that last fight. Before that fight, he got beat by Chandler and we all thought he almost retired in the ring the way he threw his gloves in the ring. Like, you don't do that unless you're letting us know that you're retiring. And prior to that, I don't think Hooker was in the title fight, title contention like that. He was ranked, but he was still looking for, his way to get into the top 5.
Right.
And so, like, it's not to take away from Islam Makhachev's, achievements so far, but I think the same way Islam could say off of, the way he's been dominant that he deserves the title fight. It's the same way Khamzat Chimaev could say the same thing. But it's like, hey, get a couple more fights and get some fights with some guys in the top 5. Because those guys in the top 5, when you go 5 rounds with them, like, it's a difference.
Right, and there are people who like to see it, Hamzat, but yes, you get to slow her out though, Hamzat. Yeah, definitely.
So,
Oh yeah, before tie it back to the Rose and Weili, which we're talking about before. Yeah, do you think it's what's next for Rose? It should be her and Cara Esparza, right? At this point, I mean, I don't know what else you. Some would say Marina Rodriguez, but I think Carla, because of the story, the fact that she has a victory over Rose and she's the first strawweight champion, that seems like the more natural, better, I think, matchup.
who's been more active?
Um, Marina, I think no, Marina had another one. They both fought in May last time, and then Marina got another fight against Mackenzie Dern.
I believe Marina. No, I believe Carla Esparza told us she was gonna wait for the title, right?
Yeah, because they did Wei Lee
And then
and Rose.
Dana White told her, "You're not gonna wait for the title. You're gonna wait for our call," right?
Right. I don't think it's ridiculous. I think that's a little absurd, but all right.
Yeah, I don't think it's absurd. I think
And
it's
also, she has a victory over Marina Rodriguez. Don't forget that too. So that's another thing that goes in Carla's favor.
when I have to check when this victory was.
It was last year.
Maybe they rematch for #1 contendership.
Yeah, they could. Although Rose admitted that she wants to fight Carla next, that she's willing to do it. Plus, like I said, Carla has that
I
victory
mean,
over
you
her.
know what? If Rose is calling her out, then okay. But I was just, me personally, I wanted to go off what the boss said. What Dana White says usually goes, and if he said, she's not waiting for the title match, she's waiting for our call, then I would go with what Dana White is saying. But if Rose is calling her out, if the champ is calling someone out, then the champ gets what the champ wants.
Right, and Carla should get the champ. Personally, I think makes too much. I think it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I guess we can go to the main event now. Covington Usman, Kobe Covington, and Camaro Usman. Camaro Usman wins this fight 48-47 to the judges scorecards and 49-46 on one though. And this fight it was almost like a tale of two different fights. It seemed like the first 2 rounds, Kobe Covington was a lot more cautious, very cautious, and Usman was dictating the fight a lot more. But Usman was also being patient as well. Not he wasn't trying to be reckless either. And and Usman landed more powerful shots. And Kobe did go for a takedown the first round, didn't get it, and in the second round didn't get it. But third round progresses. Usman drops Covington in the second round, and it looks like Kobe's in trouble, but he gets up and is able to manage to survive the Usman barrage. Towards the end of the second round, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, it was towards the end of the second round. And then on the third round, it seemed like, especially the second half of that third round, the fight started so much changing, where Covington was being more active, laying better shots, and got 2 takedowns. I'm carrying those takedowns. Those to me were takedowns. I don't even though yes, it wasn't long. He didn't get him for long. I understand, but those were legit take. You don't agree with them?
Ladies and gentlemen of the podcast, if you can't see it on YouTube, but Austin is saying they were those were takedowns, and I'm just shaking my head no. because I disagree. I'm gonna go with the UFC statisticians. I'm not going with the Austin statistician.
I'm not. Well, I'm going with Daniel Cormier and Camaro Hoosterman are saying they say it was takedowns. I'm going with wrestlers over UFC tacticians who've never wrestled. Just saying. Where's their credentials? I want to see theirs before I go.
It's not about credentials. It's about what the league has deemed as a takedown, because they have stats. They have statistics for everything. They have statistics for takedown, so for takedown defense. So in order for a fighter to have a certain amount of takedown defense, they have to quantify what a takedown is by their standards. And based on the UFC standards, Colby Covington did not execute a takedown, so he did not get a takedown.
Which I have to ask those guys, how's that not a takedown? That doesn't make sense. He wrapped Usman's arms. I mean, his arms around Usman. He drove Usman to his knees. He was able, it wasn't standing. Like I said twice, it wasn't long. I get it. It wasn't long. He didn't head him down. That I agree with. But nevertheless, he took him down.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Oh man, I guess time of possession also counts in the takedown for the UFC. You can have a flash takedown, right?
Right?
And they won't score it as a takedown. I've
Right.
seen that plenty of times in the UFC. He didn't have Kamara on his knees long enough for them to constitute it a takedown. And we both watched the same fight. I
Right?
don't believe I know you're saying is like he got him on his knees, but you keep reiterating with the caveat it wasn't for that long. If you're admitting that it wasn't for that long, then it wasn't a takedown.
Yeah, but that's because you don't hold it that long doesn't mean it's not a takedown. It's still a takedown. You drove your opponent off a staying position, and you're with body control too. It wasn't like it was and you held him body control and you land and you take him down.
Austin, I understand your point, but it's based on the UFC standards. And what they count for a takedown is that someone being driven off their knees and being held in said position for a set amount of time. And Colby Covington did not achieve the set amount of time. He only achieved one half of the requirement. And so it's not a takedown.
Which to me that's something I think the UFC has to address because when you have someone like Cormier and even Usman when he got taken down, that's something you got to address. UFC, two highly credentialed wrestlers saying something different. But that's besides the point. Anyway, this was a competitive fight. Like I said, it was competitive despite Usman winning the fight. It was competitive. I mean, the fourth round was Colby's best round. If arguably, well, yeah, it was his best round. I think I can say because I think he landed a head kick on Usman. I know he wobbled near the end of the round. That was the. But then the fifth round was pretty competitive as well. Usman, they land a nice, some nice punches that rock Colby, but Colby was able to rock him. And Usman has more power than Colby. That's one that was evidence in his fights. And even the first fight was more evidence that Usman does have more power than Colby Covington. But nevertheless, Colby Covington did show his toughness because he got dropped and looked like he was done in the second round. And it looked like he does, but he got up and was able to keep fighting. And he won at least two rounds from Usman, and was able to make it a close fight. And even at the end, Colby Covington gave respect to Camaro Usman, quote unquote breaking character. If you saw it, you saw it. The end was something that people were kind of surprised by. And this was, this main event delivered. It was something everyone was looking forward to. People were wondering if this was going to be like the first one, or it was going to be a domination, or it wasn't. It was a close competitive fight, and Camaro was able to squeak by. Camaro was able to get the victory. And what was it in this fight that you saw that Dan from both Covington and Usman?
The biggest thing that stuck out to me was that in the first two rounds, it felt like the first fight stuck more in one fighter's mind than in the other. And I think Colby Covington, he felt that power. Like, he truly felt Kamaru Usman's power in that first fight to a point where he kind of was he was either anticipating the knockdown or trying to get, like, going out of his way to avoid the knockdown. But he knew the knockdown was coming. He knew Kamaru's power was going to knock him down. My thing was, I think what would have made it a closer fight for Colby Covington, and it was a close fight, but I think what would have made it an even closer fight and even harder to judge fight was that if Colby kind of came in with the same, like, I don't know, both fighters came in different, more skilled, but if Colby came in with the same approach that he came in last fight, which was, like, a lot more reckless abandonment, things of that nature, not really respecting Kamaru Usman's power. Or if he is respecting it, he's giving it enough respect to go, I'm going to block your shot, but I am returning back, and I am going to dirty the game up. I think that what's would have helped him, because later on in the round he did revert, not revert, but he did go to more dirty boxing, things of that nature, and it didn't involve the clinch, but involved a lot more side swipe, a lot more angles, a lot of hitting different areas, a lot of feinting and looking at Kamara, like feinting at Kamara, and talking to Kamara, things of that nature, talking a whole lot of junk to him. It was that type of boxing. It wasn't, there was a lot of skill involved in it based on the footwork and the angles of what he was doing, but he was really, like, he involved the clinch sometimes to kind of get closer to Kamara, and then, just throw off the distance that Kamara had. Um, the Kamara was excellent throughout the fight to me, through and through. The most impressive thing about Kamara was, like, I believe if it wasn't twice, then I believe three times Kobe wobbled him. But what Kamara was able to do was reset. And after, I think, the second time, he was seeing what was getting him in trouble. And so he wasn't going to that, he wasn't repeating that same rhythm that was getting him in trouble. And he was offering something new to Kobe. It was just a great fight. Great technical fight. Kamaru Usman, and still, he's the Nigerian nightmare. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, it was just an excellent, excellent fight from both fighters.
I'm glad you mentioned the feints. I didn't, cause I was watching at the time thinking Kobe's throwing some feints that are working, and it's like I forgot to mention it. That's a good point. But I think one thing about Usman, I felt like that he was even when he rocked Kobe, he wasn't reckless with his shots. Like, he was calm, patient. Like, someone asked him, like, "Well, was he going for a finish?" He said, "Yes, but also if you're a champion, you can't just be reckless. You gotta, like, know when to throw it also, because if he's reckless and trying to finish Kobe, he can either tire himself out, which gets Kobe Covington. You don't want to do that at all, or he might get caught with something, maybe a punch or an elbow or something. You don't want to do that either, and then lose, put yourself in harm's way because you got reckless because you were trying to finish a guy. So that's the one thing I think also about Kamara that was kind of impressive, is that when he did hurt him, he was more patient and calm. Like, he was letting I'm gonna finish him if I can, but I'm gonna I'm gonna hurt, I'm not gonna point fight, but at the same time I'm not gonna go out my way for a knockout. That makes sense.
Most definitely, it just, like, Kamara was he was the true embodiment of fundamentals, of where fundamentals can get you. Sticking to the fundamentals, stopping with the flashy, you don't have to do a spinning back fist to get a KO to, get fight of the night. Sometimes just the overhand right, or just that nice jab. Sometimes throwing the jab right when an opponent least expect it is a beautiful thing, and it can do enough. If you're throwing with intent to harm, it can do enough. And Kamaru Usman just, we even saw it in, like, Kobe wanted to, they both had a chance. Kobe had the chance, with shooting and going for the takedowns. they had a chance to mix it up and going into the ground game. And not for nothing, watching Camaro Usman, we're seeing that he's gotten so far away from attacking offensively with wrestling that he really didn't know what to do in certain in certain placements where he had advantages. Not really not knowing what to do, but just it seemed like he forgot. But the fundamentals and defensive fundamentals for wrestling were there, and so he was able to do a lot. And you saw he defended all the takedowns that Kobe Covington had for him.
Do you think maybe the whole, you mentioned like the wrestling thing, he wasn't more offensive because he respected Kobe's wrestling game too much that he was like, maybe I don't want to waste energy trying to do against Kobe? Because I feel like if you were to fight, let's say, a Leon Edwards, which that's a whole nother, that's a whole nother ish thing itself, but then maybe he would be more wrestling offensive. Do you think? Because I feel like maybe that was more of that it's just that he respects, Kobe's wrestling game is very good, that he didn't want to try to tire himself out going for a takedown.
I mean, but see, this is the thing. Whenever he was defending against the takedowns, he put himself in prime position to get ground and pound, position. And so when he didn't try and attack that to give, Kobe a different look to say, all right, you know what? I have to be more careful and calculated in my wrestling attempts. The only thing he was able to do was defend the shoots and reverse the takedowns. Like we saw him in the first round, flip a takedown that Kobe had into a advantageous position. But from there, I thought he had if he committed himself, he would have been able to get the ground and pound position, or at least get a half guard to where he could have done some body work, and especially if he's doing body work and you're the stronger opponent, that would have definitely tired Kobe out and would have just been more advantageous for him. And so I just, for that instance right there, like I know Daniel Cormier called it, but he called it at the same time as I saw it. Like we both saw the same thing. It was like, all right, dude, you just haven't been offensive with your wrestling in a while. It seems you've truly dedicated yourself to the stand-up game and getting your getting your jabs and everything correct. And we can all applaud you for that, but don't get away from your bread and butter.
Right, exactly. Don't be the classic case of a wrestler becoming a brawler, forgetting his wrestling. The classic, and where eventually that comes back to bite you in the butt. We've seen it with wrestlers.
Most definitely, especially if you like, if anything, the fight where I see it would be biting him in the butt the most would be this Leon Edward fight coming up.
Okay, really. So, you know what? Let's do this. So, next for Camaro Hoosterman now is probably Leon Edwards, considering Jorge Masvidal had just pulled out with an injury. So, unfortunately, Jorge will not be fighting Leon next month. And it looks like I personally thought it'd be cool to see him and Bilal Muhammad finish their business, but it looks like Bilal Muhammad's be fighting Wonder Boy on December 18th. So it looks like Leon basically seems like, hey, I want my title fight now. Which you can argue, yeah, it's hard to deny him at this point. Maybe a title fight, considering unless you want to get never mind. Go ahead.
Nah, I agree with you there completely. If anything, if it, I would I would give him the title fight. And the thing is, if I'm Kamara, like I know you can be patient right now, knowing that you're gonna give him the title fight. He probably doesn't have to fight another fight because after this, because sorry, excuse me. After this Jorge Masvidal fight, the only other fight we want to see Leon Edwards in is a title fight. He's on an 8-fight winning streak right now in the welterweight.
I think it was 10. Well,
10.
it's at least 10 or 11 unbeaten streak because the Bilal Muhammad fight was a no contest.
Give me one moment. I would have to check.
Because I know his last loss was to Camaro Usman, but that was back in 2015. Both guys are different fighters from that fight, obviously. Since
Let's see.
Dan's checking to see the unbeaten
1,
streak.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's on an 11 fight win streak. No, wait. Give me one. I'm sorry.
Unbeaten streak.
I'm
So
sorry. Give me one moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 fight win streak.
right. And his last loss was to Camaro Hoosterman. That was, he said that was
Yeah,
6 years ago.
yeah. 2015. That was the last. That was his last loss.
And he's, he just won. He's, beating guys and things like that. Although, like I said, I'm not like the biggest Leon Edwards fan just personally, but I will give his due. He is very good. Very good. He's very good and does what he has to do to win.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, I'm not the biggest fighter. I'm not the biggest fan of him either. But at a certain point, you got to give a deserving fighter, everything that they're due, and
Yeah.
he's due a title fight.
Yes, he is, and I think he deserves it. And although me personally, I don't think anybody, well, I think most guys in the welterweight division do not get Kamaru Usman the challenge that Cody Covington does. I feel like Cody Covington is always going to be the guy that gives Kamaru problems. I mean, Cody Covington is the only guy to take multiple rounds off Kamaru Usman. Think about that. I mean, other than that, I mean, maybe Gilbert Burns the first round of their fights. He did drop Kamaru.
Maybe that, but even then, like, my thing is, like, he dropped him early in the round, but then Kamaru was able to kind of reset, and you saw it through that round that he was he was gonna end things off with that jab.
Right. And right, exactly. And yeah, and other than that, I mean, maybe the first round, the first Jorge fight, where Jorge clipped him a couple of times before Kamaru took him down. Maybe. Like I said, I'm just saying maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Like, these are just maybes. Like, we'd have to kind of check the scorecards, but that's for another discussion another day. It's how great Kamaru Usman is.
Right.
But
It shows how good. Like I said, that's why I think personally, I think even if Leon does fight, Kamaru, I think Leon wins. I mean, actually, Kamaru wins. I'm sorry. I think Kamaru wins again. I don't think. I know Leon's good, but I don't know if Leon presents a threat to where I could go, ooh, might get lose.
yeah, if anything, I think that's a fight where if Kamaru, like, just, I want to talk about it now. What the approach is. If I'm Kamaru, man, I take the Glover Teixeira approach. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going in for the grapple early. I'm not waiting till we're sweating, this, that, whatever. I want to test your defense. I really want to test your defense. I mean, I really, really want to test your defense.
I
Matter
didn't
of
think about
fact,
that.
while I'm gonna heal up right now from this fight because it was 5 rounds. I got wobbled a couple of times, just let my face heal, things of that nature. But he didn't take any other damage as far as any other body parts. I believe. I don't think Kobe threw a lot of leg kicks during this fight.
He threw a couple early on, but then like went away from it.
A couple, and I think body kicks was really his bread and butter and kind of helped him out there. So maybe help with that. But then after that, if I'm Kamaru Usman, I'll go right back in the gym for that offensive wrestling, and I'm combining the boxing that I have with it, and we're going. We're gonna play with the distance, this, that, whatever. I'm gonna lull you in for like maybe the first 30 seconds because 30 seconds is a lot of time. I'm gonna lull you in first 30 seconds, then I'm shooting and reshooting and reshooting and reshooting. And once I really got you, like once I've really tested your defense, if I really can't get you after the third and fourth shot, then we'll play your game for a little. But after that, I'm hunting.
Right, exactly. I think that's a smart choice because I have a theory. I've said this before, and typically Western European fighters don't have good wrestling. That's just a theory of mine. And, I'm talking about British, French, Germans, Spain, Italians, all those people typically don't have great wrestling. Typically, usually it's the East European countries like the Russias, Ukraines, and like Belarus. Those countries have the better grapplers.
I mean, but what about Marvin Vittori?
Nah, no.
You don't think his wrestling's all that?
No, I think because my thing is I feel like I remember when I talked about the Israel fight from June. I remember I was saying like I don't expect him to do have great grappling against Israel because he trains at King's MMA, which is one of the best gyms in MMA, in all of MMA. I just don't think he's the type of guy that can take a guy down at will, or if he becomes a great wrestler, can really do very well. Rettori, I gotta see Rettori personally.
Okay.
It's just a theory of mine. I feel like I've seen that Western European fighters. I know like Northern European fighters of the Scandinavian region tend to have good grapplers. They tend to have to be very good grapplers and stuff. But I'm talking about wrestling. Pure wrestling, they typically don't do well. It's just a theory. It's just my theory. It's something I've noticed. I mean, unless I'm wrong, someone could prove me wrong, then I'll be happy to admit it. But just haven't seen it yet.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Someone will have to, some a wave of athletes will probably come out from a region showing a set of skills and things of that nature. It always happens sometime around the years where a new wave of fighters from a certain region start to say, you know what, we're here to make noise. So it may happen. With
Right. Also, I do want to give shout. Also, I do think for Kobe Covington, I think him and Jorge is the perfect fight to make now. Now we gotta do it. I mean, I won in Florida. Look, I live in Florida. If you gotta make that fight, it has to be in Florida. It can't be anywhere else. It has to be South
Florida,
Florida.
5 rounds.
Yes. I would love to go personally. I'm just being real. I would love to go see that fight. Yeah, especially South Florida. It has to be Kobe and Jorge.
Florida, 5 rounds, and they both are gonna trash talk enough to make it for the number one contendership.
Right, yeah. I mean, Kobe, you can justify because he's the only guy to give Usman tough fights. Where Jorge, I think, have a tougher challenge because he got dominated in both and knocked out in the second one. But I get what you mean, though.
But like also like if Jorge is able to beat Kobe in convincing fashion, Kobe really hasn't. The only person that's beaten Kobe Covington in the past couple of years is the champ Camaro Usman. So if Jorge's the next guy to beat him, it kind of goes, all right, well, Jorge's next in line.
True. Although Vince Luke is a guy to watch out for. I think he's been
Yeah,
slept on. He's won 10 of his last 11 fights. I mean, that guy, he's right there, too. I think that's the guy that can give
there's a
Usman
lot of
problems.
names in this division.
Right. But I think he's the one, I think him that's close can actually give Usman some problems. That's just how I feel. I think Luke is the guy everyone's sleeping on.
And I believe you there. And also I think, man, I think a guy who's coming along, he's almost there, is Michael Chiesa.
Right. Although, yeah, that's true. I like to see him maybe bounce back. Hopefully, work on his. I'm pretty sure he's working on his submission defense.
Yeah,
It seems
but
like that's pretty.
but then again, like we said, who would have put money in Vegas, Luque by Darce on Chiesa? Who would have put it? Who would have put the money on that? No
True.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But I think Kansas seems like he has a history of bad submission defense. Despite being a great grappler, does have a history of it. Seems like look at some of his losses. But that's another story for another day. We can talk. I know Kiesa's playing not that far. Soon he's playing, so we'll probably talk more about him as this fight comes up.
So with that being said, that's the conclusion of the card. Is there any preliminary fighters that you want to give a shout out to? Because there was 6 KOs in the preliminaries.
Oh yes, I do. I want to show Chris Barnett the wheel kick. That wheel kick.
Big heavyweight boy, ladies and gentlemen, you got to check it out. Heavyweight boy threw a wheel kick, and then for his celebration, he flipped and landed on his butt and then giggled like Winnie the Pooh. It's like just the funniest thing ever. Like I don't know. It has me stuck. I don't know how to describe it. It's crazy.
That could be knockout of the year. That's a candidate for knockout of the year. I'm gonna say right now, it is. A wheel kick knockout always has a shot.
It most definitely has it has candidacy for knockout of the year.
Also, want to shout Alex Pereira, who who kickboxing legend, who for those who don't know, he's the one that knocked out Israel in Florida kickboxing. He made his, I think his UFC debut. Yeah, his UFC debut and got
He,
good.
he got a flying knee KO. Yeah, and it was very, very impressive. It was and the way it was like the fighter came in, his opponent. Oh man, I gotta get his name correct.
Andreas Michaelis.
Andreas Michaelis, he came into the fight, and you can already tell what his objective was. It was to stop Alex Pereira from trying to strike, just stop him from trying to throw anything and take him down or whatever and whatnot. And Alex Pereira does have to work on his takedown defense because he was vulnerable to a lot of things. And though Michaelitis was not able to attack on those certain deficiencies, Alex Pereira was vulnerable to certain things, but he was able to fight through it, get back up, and then landed an impressive KO there. So salute to Alex Pereira right there. Very impressive debut.
Right. Also, I do want to give a shout out to Ian Gary, from Ireland, who who seems like maybe he might be Ireland's second big prospect to come to UFC behind Conor McGregor. I know Conor McGregor gave him like a blessing, or gave his word of approval, and he was also a very dominant cage warrior. I think he's 8-0 now or 9-0. I forget. And I believe he's undefeated. He came back and he faced some adversity. He faced some adversity against Jordan Williams, but he did with KO Jordan Williams in that first round. And that, which and then he made a speech. Hey, listen, there Irishmen say we ain't take part of it, take over. He's basically saying, listen, my goal is to be the second Irish guy to do the second takeover. And he's got a personality, he's got skill, he's got power. Kind of reminds me a little of Paddy Pimblett a little bit. I know this is a weird comparison, but both guys, Cage Warriors, a lot of hype and stuff. They face no adversity, but they come through with the knockout power, and they win, impressively in their debuts, and they got a lot of tension. And like Patty, he needs to work on his defense, in terms of getting hit and stuff, moving and stuff. If we work on that, and and fix that, he's got a good ceiling, just like Patty.
Um, there's another fighter that I do want to congratulate on the card. Very impressive debut in the UFC. He said he waited a long time for it. Chris Curtis,
Oh yes.
versus Phil Hawes. Impressive counter left. I remember I was watching this fight, and I remember I said the names to my girlfriend, and my girlfriend says, funny enough, she said she was talking to her cousin, and she wanted to put money on Chris Curtis, but she wasn't that confident, and she kept the money. I said, "Oh, you should have put your money if you were really confident." She goes, "Nah, I'm really, I don't watch sport like that, but Chris Curtis, I did watch a couple of his amateur fights, and so that was someone I paid attention to." Watching the fight, Chris Curtis was getting dominated in the first couple of rounds, but it seemed like he was just trying to find his shots. But when he did, oh boy, counter left, got it, and then he just finished Phil Hawes. And I just screamed, like, I remember watching the fight, him going, "Babe, you shouldn't have bet you glad you didn't bet your money. You glad you didn't bet your money. You didn't get it. Oh, you should have bet your money." And it was like that type of reversal. Like it, but that shows you how the event was. The event just had us, like, everyone watching on an emotional roller coaster. Because by the time the last fight ended, you started to calm yourself down and you go, okay, maybe the next fight, you don't know what's going to happen, but you're bracing yourself for anything. And then something impressive happens. You go, wow, what can happen next? And something else happens. And that's what the UFC provided this weekend.
This was excellent. Yeah, it did. I mean, this card delivered. I mean, it was excellent. I mean, I thought 267 was a good card, but this, right? I mean, that's another time for a debate which cards you like more, 267 and 268. But yeah, this card was excellent. I mean, everyone came through. Maybe playing Match to a Garden, the Aura of the Garden thing played a part. I mean, to me, the two best Garden shows to me were this card and the second Match to a Garden card. The one George St. Pierre beat Bisping in. I think these are like the top two best ones in my opinion. But that's
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie to you. There's no discussion. This one beats 267 clearly because 267 does not have a Chandler versus Gagey.
You're right. I was just, yes, true. That's true. You might have a point there, actually. Hey, you may made arguments might be pay-per-view of the year, unless 269 does something crazy. But we'll see. December 11th, we'll see about that. So, yeah. Anything else before we move on?
No, that's it. I'm sorry. You said December 11th, December 13th. That's this Saturday. We'll see if
November.
November. I'm sorry, November 13th. We'll see if that is if that shows us anything. But if you want to move right into this UFC card, the Holloway versus Rodriguez.
Yes. Max in the main event is Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez. Max Holloway #1, featherweight as he should be. Well, should be the champ, but we'll leave that aside for now. And against #3 Yair Rodriguez, who this is his first fight in almost 2 years. Yair Rodriguez's first fight in 2 years. The interesting is, how does Yair look after a 2-year layoff? Is he still the guy from before he left, or is he different? Is he slowed down? Does he add new wrinkles to his game, etc.? Or Max Holloway, we know what he is. I mean, he's blessed, obviously, but also his last fight against Calvin Kattar may have been arguably top 10 all-time greatest performances in a main event of a show that any fighter's ever put on ever. I mean, he just, excuse my French, but he just whipped Calvin Kattar's ass. That's what that was. It was just beginning to end, pillar to post. I mean, he was taller than DC and Dan Hardy, looking like this, dodging punches, and pitted him. Like, what? And it's just unreal. I mean, he just come up with that performance. And he's going against Yair Rodriguez. Holloway looks like this is Holloway's prime. I think this is prime Holloway we're in now. He was a champion before his prime, and I think he should be champion. But still, now we got this version, and I mean, a lot of people think this is a sacrifice. Yair's being sacrificed to Holloway, basically. That's what some people are saying. I mean, maybe it's a stretch, but what do you thought of this fight, Dan?
Max Holloway is truly blessed.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have to see the Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar fight. Like, all right, you know what? All right. I know you're gonna. All right, if you watch that fight, right? Watch that fight, then do yourself justice, right?
Yes.
Watch the first and the second Holloway versus Volkanovski fights right after, because that's not the order in which the fights happen. It happened Volkanovski 1, Volkanovski 2, and then Kattar. And the crazy part is Max got better. He arguably won the title that he never lost. He won that fight, right? But then the title went over to Volkanovski. I thought he won that fight.
The first fight? Really?
Yes, I really thought Max Holloway won that fight.
Okay.
The second fight, he proved to me that he won the fight.
I thought he won the second fight too. I still think that's one of the worst judging.
That was one of the worst judging
ever.
decisions ever. Like, oh man. There was probably one more that we went off on earlier in the year that I'd have to go back in the tapes to see, but that was one of the worst judging decisions I have ever seen. Like, it was something where, like, I had to, like, you got to start looking into which commission they fight in and things of that nature to see how these judges judge the fight. But between the first and the second Volkanovski fight, he got better. And then he got the Calvin Kattar fight, which we thought, like, he was just going to put his skills already on display. But it was more than that. It seemed like Max leveled up even more during the Calvin Kattar fight. And then it was to a point like Austin said, the guy just, he's talking to DC and Dana White, dodging Calvin Kattar's punches, saying, "I'm the best boxer in the UFC, and don't you ever forget." Bing! And don't you ever forget it. That fight left such an impression. Like, yo.
Maybe the greatest performance. Actually, maybe the greatest performance of fighters ever put on the main event.
It might be the greatest performance a fighter has ever put on in the UFC. Just talking numbers. Time out. I'm going to the stats right now. I gotta pull the numbers.
You have to, yes. I mean,
I gotta pull the numbers, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta pull the numbers.
I mean, this is unbelievable. It's that good. I know it was that good. Also, before we continue, I just want to shout out Maria, who's watching us on Facebook. Hello, Maria.
Salute to you, Maria. This was a unanimous decision. I just want to let you guys know it went 5 rounds. Max Holloway landed 445 strikes.
My gosh. Oh my God. Wow.
And I don't want to, it isn't to take away from Calvin Kattar because he's a tough SOB.
Mm-hmm. He's a really good fighter, too.
He's a great fighter. And it wasn't like he just, it wasn't like Calvin Kattar didn't, this was the impressive part about it. He ate the 445 strikes while Calvin Kattar was throwing up decent defense. It wasn't run-of-the-mill lackluster defense. He was defending, but the rhythm that Max was in was so good. It was just flowing. Ladies and gentlemen, it was flowing. It was 445 strikes.
Right.
All that to say, I got Max Holloway winning this.
I do too. Now Yair is creative. That's the one thing about Yair that makes him, a threat against Holloway. His offense is very creative. I mean, I remember he did a weird, I don't want to say insecure, like wrestling, but I forget which fight it was. I think it was, if I remember, it was, shoot. It was a head kick. It was an aggressive head kick knockout. I'm trying to remember. Was it against Andre Fili? I think it was. He went some crazy head kick knockout. I forget what. I forget what it was, but he has creative knockouts. I mean, the Korean Zombie one's the one we all remember. We was down 3-1, about 10 seconds to go. He does this, catches Korean Zombie like this, unexpected, knocks him out as he was about seconds away from losing the fight too. So Yair is very creative with his offense. That's the thing. You're Max Holloway. You gotta watch out for he might do some crazy stuff. He may try to pull something we never seen before. But if Max Holloway's able to stay, good defense, make it fundamentals, make it traditional fights. I mean, Holloway wins again.
Yeah, this is one of these things where I know Yair is a creative striker, and sometimes that could be beneficial. But the thing about Max Holloway is it's not like he has an abnormal wingspan for the division or anything of that nature. He's just he is a MMA fighter. He is an MMA. He's a professional MMA fighter, meaning if you want to grapple, he can grapple with you. If you want to ground and pound, he can ground and pound. If you just want to stick in the clinch and do dirty boxing, he can do that. But if you want to stick straight to the stand-up and stand at a range and time strike, fundamentally, he can do that. And the thing about Max is he's so fundamentally strong that what I can see happening with Yair is that he panics at the fundamentals and tries to do something, tries to be creative at the wrong time. And Max waits for that, and that's when he attacks.
Good point. That's a great. Yeah, you know what? I can see that. That's a very good point by you, Dan. Yeah, he might try something creative and put himself in danger, and Max attacks him, and once Max attacks you, man, you're in trouble. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that, but yeah, once you're in trouble, I mean, Max always could put volume on you. I mean, he's not exactly a power puncher, but the volume just does so much damage that eventually you can't continue. I mean, I've seen Holloway finish guys with his volume, multiple guys, and yeah, and so that's the thing, Yair, yeah, he may be creative, but he puts up a bad position. Holloway can just beat you up basically, and really hurt you, and
I
like,
mean,
good.
so no. So then, with that being said, I know we see Max Holloway's path to victory clearly. If you were to map out a path of victory to for Yair, what would it be?
I think kicks. I think he may have to do a lot more kicks, particularly leg and body kicks. Maybe I think maybe that might be a good idea if I'm Yair. The more I think about it, because Holloway doesn't throw a lot of kicks. Now, granted, that doesn't mean he's not good at defending them either. But at the same time, I think maybe kicking game early on maybe might be a smart strategy. Maybe then that way if you more about kicks, you may leave his head open, you attack him there, etc.
Okay, so then if that's the case, we hopefully Yair's camp sees that and discusses that, and if that's if he introduces that, then maybe that can be a make it a more interesting and entertaining fight, and we just want to see technique and bloodshed with this one because that's what
Yeah,
it's gonna be. This is gonna be fast paced. This is in the featherweight division, ladies and gentlemen. This is gonna be fast paced. There's gonna be a lot of technique, and if someone gets busted open, like leaking, bloody, this, that, whatever, expect them to continue to do so.
especially Yair. I mean, Yair is a Mexican. Mexican warriors, they believe they keep fighting. I mean, doesn't matter if boxing or MMA, they will keep on fighting. That Mexican Aztec or yes, Aztec blood. They keep them going.
So, with that being said, I want to go right into the co-main event for the card. It's in the heavyweight division. We have Ben Rothwell versus Marcos Rodrigo de Lima. Uh, Both fighters coming off of a win right now. Uh, Rothwell coming off of a win versus Barnett. De Lima coming off of a win versus Green, but both of them coming off, before those wins, they were lost against, two guys coming up in the heavyweight division. Rothwell lost to Marcin Tabora, and Marcos de Lima lost to Romanov. So, how do you see this heavyweight fight going?
It's weird because Ben Rothwell, although recently when he was we started thinking he was more of a grappler because he started submitting guys more like 20. I remember at 2015, 2016, he was submitting guys and he submitted Josh Barnett, who's one of the better grapplers in heavyweight history, and things like that. But he's got, if I'm mistaken, 28 KO TKOs. He's submitted a lot of guys with his hands. And he's got 7 subs, so that's 35 of his 39 fights. I mean, not fights. Finishes are basically finished. I mean, yeah, of his victories are finishes. And so if I expect I mean not Tybor, excuse me. If I expect Rothwell to win, I expect to finish where more submission or more like TKO KO. That seems like Ben's MO. Especially, I think Ben might have the advantage grappling though, so he might try to go for submission though over De Lima. Yeah, De Lima. Well, De Lima 13 of his 18 victories are KO TKO, so he's got power too, which I guess is heavyweight, so you kind of expecting that power. But however, De Lima, I think if I'm mistaken, let me just double check to make sure this is correct before I say what I'm about to say. Give me one moment. Has 5 submission losses too. So if I'm Ben Rothwell, I expect this to be a lot of grappling. Ben Rothwell trying to submit him because most of his losses are submission losses, and Ben Rothwell might be the better grappler of the two. So I expect this to be a lot of grappling.
It may be a lot of grappling, but if Ben Rothwell is smart, you come into the ring confident in your KO power and you display that, and then once you have him backing up looking for that, I think that's where you go into the wrestling. I think that's the plan of attack for Ben Rothwell.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I can understand that. You got a lot of TKO KOs. Make him respect your power, and then if it's there, go for grappling stuff. Or maybe if you hurt maybe if you rock him, he might try to pull a Matt Mitrione. I'm not sure if you remember Rock with Mitrione. Mitrione went for a pretty bad takedown. Rock was able to counter it and turn it into like a not a dark choke, like a weird choke while in your throat. I forgot how to explain it, but where Mitrione tapped out immediately. But you know what I mean? Like if you
Yeah,
hurt, okay, yeah, maybe if he hurts De Lima might try for a bad takedown. Maybe if Rob was a little stuffy, he can catch him, put him in a submission involving his neck, and Rothwell with your neck, oof, tapping out.
most definitely. So then it sounds like we both have Ben Rothwell for this co-main event.
Yeah,
So with that being said, we can move on right into the next fight. It's in the women's featherweight division. Felicia Spencer versus Leia Letson. Um, I,
um,
I, 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 I got Felicia Spencer winning this one.
I do too, but my problem with this is why is this in the main card, but yet Cynthia Calvillo and Andrea Lee's in the prelims when Calvillo and Lee are both ranked in the flyweight division, and it's kind of a boring matchup for that division.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, this man. I want to say this as well. There's someone else on the preliminaries that doesn't belong on the preliminaries.
Oh, I have another guy too. I think I know who you're talking about too.
Who?
Daryl Moses.
Up, we both were thinking the same person. I do not believe Thiago Moises belongs on the preliminaries of this card.
No, considering his last fight was a main event against Islam in July.
Exactly. Like, this seems like a big step down.
I
Unless
think
he volunteered himself for this fight to just, remain active, kudos to him. But otherwise, I think this is a big step down to be on the preliminaries.
yeah.
Um, we both have Felicia Spencer winning the that fight. I'm not upset with Chaos Williams on the main card.
Oh, he's on the main card. Okay,
Chaos Williams versus Miguel Baeza. I
okay.
don't see just like the Ben Rothwell fight. I don't see this going the distance either. Chaos Williams is a very powerful welterweight.
Yes, he is.
He's one powerful SOB, and his striking is clean too.
Yes, it is. He, I mean, he's
No, go
got
ahead, go ahead.
no. He's got like I said. He I forgot. I think it was his last fight. No, it was I forgot who it was, but he had like an impressive knockout, like a very violent knockout. And once you see, you go, yeah, he's earned that nickname, Chaos. All right, his striking is pretty good when you watch his fights. I mean, if you're gonna strike him matchup with Chaos, you have to be careful because if he catches you with something, he has the ability to put you out one punch.
Oh, give me oh my gosh. Give me one moment because I've gotta rewatch it. I know which one you're talking about.
Yes, but I want to talk about Miguel Baeza, who is 10-1. However, he's coming off his first loss. Although his first loss was to Santiago Ponzinibbio, who, when he's healthy and active, he is a pretty good. He's a borderline top 10, or he's a top, or yeah, he give you a top 10 welterweight, Ponzinibbio. So, but before that, Miguel Baeza was, his last four fights, no, his last five fights were all finished. No, his last three of his last, no, four of his last five fights. Oh, I can't talk today. My apologies. Four of his last five fights were finishes, where it be KO and then TKO by leg kick and elbows against Hector Alda, and then TKO with Matt Brown, and then submission against Takashi Sato. So he's a finisher himself. So you got two guys like to finish. I don't think this fight's gonna last in the third, to the third round, to decision. Might be surprised though if it does.
It was Matthew Samuelsberger.
Oh, that's what Chaos Williams knocked out.
Yeah, and it was it was a vicious KO too. Yeah, I remember that one. But yeah, I agree with you there. Chaos Williams is deserving to be on like his placement on the card. Miguel Baeza, he's very impressive as well, even though he is coming off of a loss against Ponzinibbio, like you said. This fight is going to be fireworks. I expect this fight to be fireworks, but I don't expect it to go the full 3 rounds.
I don't either. I don't. I'll be surprised personally if that does.
So then we can move on to the last fight on the the first fight on the main card. It is Julio Ars versus Yadong Song. Song Yadong. How do you see this fight going?
This Song Yudong, I know is ranked number 15 in the bantamweight division, the ultra competitive bantamweight division, and I'm interested because Julio Ars, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too familiar with him too much. I was checking. I know he has 10 of his 17 victories are by finishes, with 5 submissions, by 5 TKO KOs, and he's coming off a victory over Andre Ilo. Before that, I lost to Hakeem Dual, but split decision though, but still lost.
Yeah, but I do know, like, not for nothing, to be is very impressive for him to have a victory over Julian Erosa.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's impressive right there.
head kick. And this is his second fight in 2021. Before that, he hadn't fought since November of 2019. So I don't know, maybe pandemic, maybe injuries, probably a combination of both, preventing him from fighting. But this is his second fight back. He got a victory. Maybe this is the beginning of Julio Arce's rise in the bantamweight division. And if he beats Song Yadong, he'd definitely be ranked after this. So Song Yadong is ranked number 15. Oh, excuse me. And Song Yadong is 17-5, although I think he has a controversial victory, in my opinion, against Chio Vera. I feel like it was given the victory against Chio Vera when they fought, I think, last year or 2 years ago. Yeah, last year. But he's come out victor with Casey Kenny. Split decision, but still, nonetheless, it's still victory. And before the Chio Vera fight, he had come off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of his 7 fights for victories. He had a draw with Cody Stamann, but Cody Stamann is a pretty good fighter himself. So Song Yadong is pretty talented. He's a good fighter. He continues out Team Alpha Male, with Uriah Faber, and it seems like Team Alpha Male does very well with lighter fighters. It seems like if you're 135, 125, 145, you tend to do well with Team Alpha Male. It seems like typically, and he does have a balance of decisions and finishes, so you don't know what you get. And this fight, I mean, this is a toss-up fight to me personally. Song Yadong and Ars.
I wanted to say that as well. I agree with you. I wish I could favor Song Yadong, but truthfully, Casey Kenny right now, he's an incomplete MMA fighter because there's certain there are certain advantages in his style that he can take advantage of, but he isn't doing presently. And so with that, you're kind of fighting an incomplete fighter in Casey Kenny. Like, he has a lot more room to grow. I see that in his fights. Like, the Casey Kenny we're seeing, like, and he is a name that has been brought up plenty. So for him to get a victory over Casey Kenny is very impressive. And he did it in an impressive fashion, pressuring the takedowns early, kind of getting Casey Kenny out of his rhythm, and then attacking with the stand up later on in the fight. But yeah, I just feel like this is gonna be a toss up matchup. I don't know who to pick for sure. I'm just gonna be watching this with watching this with the child's curiosity.
I like that. Okay, and well, I might as well break this fight down since we mentioned him. Thiago Moises going against Joel Alvarez.
Alvarez.
Yep, this is a very interesting fight because Moises is ranked number 15 in the lightweight division. He'll come up lost to Islam Makhachev. Now Joel Alvarez is from Spain and he's 18-2. However, 16 of his 18 victories are submissions. So he wins by submission. He gets you down and you go, he makes guys tap out. And however, Thiago Moises is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Even though he's come up with submission victory to Islam Makhachev. However, Islam Makhachev has that wrestling / sambo style, which takes a lot pressure and ground and pound, which is easier for submissions, versus Alvarez seems to be more of a submission, like a jiu-jitsu submissioner, practitioner, rather than a guy like Islam with with Dagestani wrestling and pressure and all that. But Moises is pretty good himself. I mean, Moises is he's no joke. The reason why he's ranked number 15. The reason why they put him in the main event with Islam back in July this year. Moises, Moises does have 6 submission victories himself, and with 3 KOs and TKOs. So he does a lot of finishes himself. So it makes you wonder if Rappers going to cancel each other out, and maybe who's the better striker may win potentially. Personally, I always surprised. Can Alvarez win? Yeah, but I have a feeling Moises is somehow going to pull victory in this fight. Just me personally.
I agree with you there. I just want to say, man, I'm about to say a mouthful right now.
Okay.
Moises, I believe, is in the same realm as Arman Tsoukayan. Arman Tsoukayan lost to Islam, and just now he's just racked off 3 victories. And I know Islam is looking for higher ranked people, but Arman is looking for the rematch. He believes like he could have gotten Islam. The way Thiago Moises approaches the ring, I feel like he's one of those guys too. Like those new wave, tons of pressure guys. All they need is to clean up the striking, but then after that, they're gonna have like a great run in the UFC. And so Thiago Moises is like that to me. It's just fun watching him fight. I'm just gonna be entertained watching this one. That's it, really.
No, most definitely, and Moises before the Islam loss was on a 3-fight win streak, including 4 of his last 5 he had won, including beating Michael Johnson, Bobby Green, who had a victory around Quinta in the last show, and Alexander Hernandez, who came back and won his fight after that. So these are 3 guys who are ranked, named fighters who are usually there at top 20, top 25. So Moises is pretty good. And Alvarez is no joke either. But I do think Moises is gonna find a way to win. I think you mentioned. I'm always surprised if Moises goes on a run. Maybe wins like his next 4 fights. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I agree with you there completely, and he's in that class of guys where I think they needed something like that. They needed a loss to a guy like Islam Makhachev who's coming up, who isn't there yet, but you can see his rise isn't too far behind from your rise. And so all you have to do is be consistent, be dominant, be hungry. It's there for you.
Yeah, and one fight I definitely want to break down. I mentioned earlier is the Sidney Calvillo and Andrea Lee fight. Andrea Lee being number 12, Calvillo number 5. So this is an important matchup in the flyweight division. As both are ranked girls trying to make this step closer to fighting for the world title against Valentina Shevchenko. And Andrea Lee, KGB Lee, which I still wonder how she got that nickname. Kind of, saying she's not Russian, kind of weird nickname. But anyway, she's come off victory over Antonina Shevchenko, Valentina's sister. Back in UFC 262, the Oliveira Chandler card by submission, triangle armbar, which I do remember. It was a big victory for her because she was coming off 3 losses. So for her to get a bounce back victory was very big for her. She's has more confidence, more her mojo back. She's looking to try to make it 2 in a row and get herself closer to fighting Antonia's sister Valentina. And being Cynthia Calvillo would definitely do that. Cynthia Calvillo is coming off a loss to Jessica Andrade by TKO punches back in late September. So a little quick turnaround for her, considering that was a month and a half ago was when she lost to Andrade. That was Ortega Volkanovski. So it makes so it makes me wonder, like, I know she didn't get dropped like on the mat, but the referee had to save her because she couldn't take the punches from Andrade. So it makes you wonder if how she recover on Calvillo from that onslaught? Does it benefit Andrea Lee potentially?
That's man, I agree with you there completely. That's a factor right there. Has she healed long enough? Has her brain healed long enough in order to take the punishment that may be coming in for this fight right there? That's a oh man, that's a big question right there. Um, how do you have this fight? Who do you favor in this fight?
I would say Calvillo, despite the whole question marks, I will slightly just because I think Calvillo has overall faced better competition and done well against better competition. Although Calvillo, Calvillo is not what people thought she was. If you remember 2017, everyone thought she was the next big thing, in terms of women's MMA, but it didn't happen. But Calvillo, when she's on it, is a pretty good fighter. And Andrea Lee, I mean, I feel if this is her chance to break, this might be her chance to finally break through the ceiling that she kind of has for herself, where she's always, competitive, good, top 15-ish, maybe top 10, but like lower level top 10, but not exactly can break through into that 6, 7 range. If that makes sense.
Okay. Man, I need Andrea Lee to win this to fight Manon Fior.
That name's familiar. I mean, I'm sure.
She's up and coming in this division as well, and that's a name that they suggested to fight Valentina. But Manon Fior has not faced a grappler yet that can really push her because I believe she's a kickboxer.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
If Andrea Lee can do what she did against Antonina in getting that pressure with the wrestling, things of that nature, then I think that would be a good fight there. I mean, this is essentially two wrestlers fighting, right? Two wrestling dominant women fighting.
So, yeah, basically two wrestling dominants. Yeah, and Adrian Lee does have 5 submissions, so
So then we should expect the striking matchup.
yeah, probably. I think whoever's the better
Yep,
striking.
yep.
I forget where Cynthia Calvillo trains now. I know she was in AKA for a little bit, but I think she left. Which if she was with AKA, I would have picked her convincingly because AKA obviously is legendary and are known for kickbox striking. I mean, their name's American Kickboxing Academy, despite the Dagestanis being there, but still.
Yeah.
But still, but yeah, it's striking. I mean, maybe I would go Calvillo in this case, but we shall see. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised Adrian Lee wins.
So then, if that's all right, so then yeah, if that's the case, we just for that matchup, ladies and gentlemen, it's two wrestlers, so expect a lot of striking. Expect a
Exactly.
whole lot of striking. Is there any other fighters you want to shout out for this card coming up?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily personally. I mean, is anyone you want to shout out?
Nah, I just want to tell the viewers just please keep your eye out on the preliminaries. There's a guy named by Tiago Moises, very impressive fighter. Like you're just gonna see him and be amazed at how he approaches his craft.
Yeah,
Very great, very good fighter.
that most definitely. And before we go, I do want to do a quick preview of the Bellator because Bellator does have events tomorrow. It's Chris Cyborg versus Sinead Kavanaugh in the featherweight division. As Cyborg defends her title, go against her. But there's a fight in this card that I do want to talk about, and particularly a certain fighter named Aaron Pico. Aaron Pico's fighting this card go against the undefeated Justin Gonzalez, who's 12-0. Now, Aaron Pico had, for those of you who don't, has had a lot of hype going into his career. I mean, his debut, I remember he was highly touted. Freddie Roach was training him to the striking. He was Jackson. No, it wasn't Jackson Wink yet. And he got off to a somewhat rough start. Now, Bellator, I think, messed up by putting him with a bunch of guys who has way more experience than him that he should have not been fighting. It hurt his confidence. But He's pulled off, I believe, 4 in a row after the loss to, I believe, Corrales it was. And Aaron Pico looks like the guy that we all expected him to be. I believe all his victories are finishes, too. And Aaron Pico is, a guy who's 25, 26, 25 years old. So he's still young. And all his victories are finishes, basically. And all his fights, he either gets finished or he finishes everyone else. So Aaron Pico is always an exciting fighter to watch. If you're Bellator, your dream matchup, what you want is him and AJ McKee. That's the dream matchup. Two homegrown guys fighting each other for the featherweight title. Two guys who have a lot of name behind them, a lot that people pay attention to. And for me, that's a fight I like to see. But obviously, he's got to get by Justin Gonzalez, who ain't no slouch. The guy's 12-0. This is probably the fight I'm looking forward to most in that Bellator card. That I think you should probably watch out for. Because this could be the most competitive fight, personally. And
Okay.
yeah, so I really want to give that a shout out because
And it's always is if it's headlining it, it's always fun watching Chris Cyborg fight because that woman is violent and loves throwing her hands. So I'm gonna be in tune to watch that. Is there any other fights on that card that I should be on the lookout for?
well, yeah, I think probably the heavyweight co-main event between Tyron Fortune and Linton Vesso because Tyron Fortune is a pretty good fighter himself. He's 11-1, and I'm trying to remember who he's come up to victory over. I thought I wrote it down. My apologies, folks. He's coming off. Oh, Matt Mitchell. That's right. He beat Matt Mitchell in the minutes in 45 seconds, and he's had two back-to-back TKO finishes. And Tyron Fortune looks like a guy who's a pretty solid heavyweight in that division. That's someone to watch out for. Who maybe might be fighting for a world title down the road. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. Definitely it's gonna be hopefully a pretty good Bellator card. Cause Cyborg when she's violence, like Dan said, and when she fights, she brings violence and usually finishes most girls. I mean, unless you have one tough woman to survive Cyborg, and then also Tyler Fortune's a guy to watch out for. A nice, good heavyweight prospect. He's ranked number 5, so I wouldn't call him a prospect, but still, you get what I mean. And Aaron Pico and Justin Gonzalez could be a fight tonight, and especially if Aaron Pico is definitely a guy who could be a future world champion. If he gets by Justin Gonzalez, I mean, he's my opinion 1 or 2 fights, more like 1 fight away from probably fighting for the world title. Like I said, if you're Bellator, him and McKee is the fight you want to see.
Damn. Okay. So shoot, I'm gonna check out that card. When I can. I know it's happening tomorrow. What time is it tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 9 o'clock on Showtime.
Oh, that's perfect. I'll be home. The next game will probably be over with by then or on the conclusion. I'll be able to watch the card.
And also the Max Holloway and Yair Rodriguez card starts at 4 p.m. Saturday, not 7, 4 p.m.
Okay. All right. So Saturday, 4 p.m. I'll be able to get off work right there. Perfect. I'll be able to watch that card. So, I, ladies and gentlemen, it's an event filled weekend. Same thing going down. You know what it is over here on the Bronx Sports Jedi Network. We're watching all the sports we want to. As Maria said in the chat, we're watching the Knicks. I know baseball season ain't upon us right now, but when it does come back, we are watching those Yankees. They are going to make their playoff run. They're going to come back and win the World Series and get that, get some shiny gold around there, around that place again.
I
But
also,
until, yeah, it's going to happen. Austin, it's going to happen.
all right.
Trust and believe it's going to happen. But yeah, like I think that's the end of the show from both of us right there. The last thing I want to say before Austin sends us out, you can always listen to us on these podcast platforms: Anchor FM, Spotify, Podbean, Reason FM, and Buzzsprout.com. Always check us out on there. If you're at work and you want to hear that MMA talk, you want to hear about the event that just happened because your friend probably at work, they told you they watch MMA, but they didn't watch Chandler versus Gagey. So now you really got no one to really talk that violence with. You got us to talk that violence with, because that was a beautiful thing. You got to talk to someone about that and let that out. Like, we're your MMA therapists. That's what we're here for. And so, when you're at work and you just want to hear that MMA talk and you don't want to kill your battery, go on these podcast platforms. Go on Anchor FM, Spotify, Podbean, Reason FM, or Buzzsprout.com and check us out right there. Type in the Bronx Sports Jedi Network. That's BX Sports Jedi Network. And also check out the merch in the merch store. One last thing, I had in the works. I had a conversation with Big Sexy Billy Swanson, the professional fighter who spoke to us. He told me what he has in the works. It's something big. I don't want to reveal it yet without his permission. But when I can, I want to let you guys know, because you guys have to be the first ones on it. And I want to support him in everything he does, because he was one of the first ever. He was the first fighter to come on this show and support us. So I just want to send the support back. So just be on the lookout for something Big Sexy Billy Swanson has on the way, especially if you're in the Chattanooga area.
Definitely, if you're in Chattanooga area, pay attention to him, and shout out to Big Sexy Billy Swanson. Hopefully he's doing well, and I can't wait to hear what the big announcement is myself personally, and definitely, and also do want to mention Bare Knuckle is having an event as well tomorrow, and Pro Gonzalez taking on Bryn Hart. Pro Gonzalez, friend of the show, and shouts out to Pro Gonzalez. Good luck to your fight, and as well as Bryn Hart. Do want to mention that, a quick shout out, and Billy Swanson, interesting to see what he has, and shout out to him, and shout out to everybody watching us tonight, or watching us live, or even afterwards, after the fact. Thank you guys for watching us. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. We really appreciate you. Me, Dan, and Kevin, of course. My dad, Kevin, of course. And with that being said, look forward to Saturday night, for Friday and Saturday for fights, and hopefully they should deliver, and we'll be entertained. And next week we'll talk about, man, that was good. Those were good fights, and we'll see for now. Either way, have a good night. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are